So you want to build a PC in today's economy? Well, with the current shortages going on, yeah, good luck. But anyways, let's go ahead and see how a $50 PC, $100 PC, $150 PC that I built compare to each other in today's video. So in terms of the benchmarks and the recording, well, all benchmarks will be recorded in 720p due to monitor limitations, but let's go and get on with that later. So, how do the PCs... Well, let's talk about the specs first, okay? So, in terms of the specs, I have made 3 separate videos on each one of them. So, if you want to go into detail, you should click on those. But anyways, in terms of the specs, I'll just briefly go over them. The $150 PC has a GTX 1050 Ti, an i7-8700, 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, which technically I know wasn't in the original PC and had 28, but I decided to upgrade it, and that shouldn't change too much of the performance. And also, it has SSDs, alright? I forgot the storage size, so yeah, it's fine. But anyways, the $100 PC has an RX 480, a Xeon E3 1245 V5, and 32 gigs of RAM as well, okay? And also, the $50 PC has an i5 6500, the R7 454 gigabyte, and I'm pretty sure 24 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, the RAM sizes did change, but it shouldn't affect performance too much. But let's go ahead and go with the benchmark, shall we, as I know that's what you guys are here for. Oh, and also the GTX 1050 Ti and the $150 PC will have a small teeny tiny overclock that all 1050 Ti's should be able to do. So yeah, anyways, let's get on with the benchmarks, shall we? Starting off with the classic game here, we have Skyrim Special Edition running at 720p with the ultra settings, and this actually is an interesting battle. As we can see from the graph here, the $50 PC absolutely gets destroyed by the other 2 competitors, being $100 and $150 gaming PCs respectively. The $100 and $150 gaming PCs both hit the frame rate cap constantly, with the $150 game PC coming close to dropping slightly below it. Overall, though, we can see that the $50 PC needs to drop to medium, or to at least get over 30 FPS on average, maybe even low settings is required. And the $100, $150 PC should handle this classic at 1080p or even 1440p, because currently we're running at a 900p, unfortunately. Anyways, let's get on with the next benchmark. BeamNG here is running at 720p high with the medium texture selected as, well, these are all 4GB cards, which is a huge coincidence, but anyways, we have to use the lower texture quality, as if we don't, there will be VRAM carnage. But anyways, at these settings, we can see that the $50 PC with its little R7 450 that could is majorly struggling, as it is more used to lowest settings at 720p. However, it isn't all rainbows and unicorns on the $100 and $150 game PCs either, as the $100 PC Xeon is blowing both of the RX 480's kneecaps and holding it back. This is a game that's also extremely CPU dependent, and this is where the decently modern Core i7-8700 and the $150 gaming PC shines, as it is not being used much at all. Overall, all 3 of these PCs can play BeamNG at playable FPS, except for the $50 PC, as you'd have to drop to like the lowest settings, which kind of looks horrible. Anyways, on to the next benchmark. Next up, with the most popular PC game in the world, we have Minecraft Java Edition running with some fancy shaders, fancy settings, and 12 chunks of render distance. We are using RTX shaders, as unfortunately all 3 of these GPUs do not have the performance. Technically, you don't need RT cores to run the RTX shaders, but still, not enough performance. From the graph, we can see that the $50 PC little R7 450 that could is sharding itself with the Silder's extreme volumetric shaders. Once again, it isn't all roses for the $100 PC either, as the Xeon is crapping the bed, running 12 chunks as is shown in those abominable 1% lows. It is used to 8 chunks at best. Overall, the only real smooth experience comes from the $150 game PC, as it has a decent GPU and a powerful CPU. On to the next benchmark. Up next, we have an esports game, which is CS2, which you would expect should run well on all of these systems, right? Well, not so much. The $100 and $150 gaming PC both solidly provide a competitive experience on CS2, but the $50 PCs, once again, little R750 that could, is struggling massively. This GPU should not be using anti-aliasing, which is why it's struggling to hit 50 FPS on average. The $50 PC scores 46 FPS on average, with the $100 PC scoring a decent 127 FPS, and the $150 PC scoring a 154 FPS on average. The $50 PC would achieve 60 plus FPS on average without anti-aliasing at 720p low. But overall, the $100 and $150 PC both offer a substantial improvement over the $50 PC. On to the next benchmark. Next up, we have Fallout 4, which is still decently intensive, running at 720p with the Ultra settings selected, and the $50 PC is, again, struggling. However, both the $100 and $150 gaming PC easily achieve the engine's 60 FPS limit. Towns and cities in the game will drop the poor R7 down to below 20 FPS, which isn't playable, especially since Fallout 4 is a shooting game. The $150 gaming PC's GTX 1050 Ti was about to drop just below 60 FPS, but is able to barely hold on. The R7 450 would be able to handle the game at lower settings, but overall, Fallout 4 is very playable on the $100 and $150 gaming PCs, and maybe even the $50 PC, if you tune down the settings to low or medium. A classic indie game here, not really sure if it's indie or not, we have Wreckfest, which, when more opponents are spawned in, hammers on the CPU the most. At 720p with the Ultra setting selected, we can see that again, the $50 PC is struggling to claw back a 30 FPS average, with the $100 PC having major lag spikes due to the weak, pathetic Xeon. When having 24 opponents, it struggled. The only one I would consider perfectly playable is the $150 gaming PC, as it has decent averages just below the stuttery $100 gaming PC, and has no stutters thanks to that Monocore i7, which, like I just said, it's pretty smooth. For a competitive driving game like Wreckfest, you want at least 45 FPS on average for a decent experience. Overall, Wreckfest is only playable on the $150 PC, as the $100 PC would need a smaller map and less AI opponents, and the $50 PC would need to drop to low or medium. On to the next benchmark. A very infamous AAA game here, known to be unoptimized, well, it used to be. We have Cyberpunk 2077 running at 720p with the medium setting selected, and oh boy, it is definitely a bloodbath. We can see that the poor little R7 450 that could is giving its all, but its all just isn't enough, even at 720p medium. The poor R7 only achieved an average of 12 FPS. The $150 PC, meanwhile, scored averages of 47 and 39 respectively. This is a AAA game, so it doesn't hammer as hard on the poor Xeon, so that gave the $100 PC an advantage here, as it doesn't hammer as hard. The RX 480 and the $100 PC was being held back slightly still though, as at 1080p native we saw the exact same frame rates. Overall, the $100 and $150 gaming PC can play Cyberpunk 2077 perfectly fine, but this $50 PC cannot play at all, even with the lowest settings and a whole ton of FSR. On to the next benchmark. Last up, we have Doom Eternal, which is the latest version of Doom we can run on all of these PCs, as all of them do not have ray tracing capable GPUs. Doom Eternal is running at 720p with the Ultra Nightmare setting selected, with the lowest texture options selected, as these are all 4GB cards like I said, and Doomy loves to eat them VRAM. It loves to eat as much as it can get. At these settings, the $100 and $150 PC were able to easily surpass 100 FPS, meaning that they provided a very compelling experience. Unfortunately, however, for the poor R7 again, it struggles hard. It barely has Vulkan support for the game, and it is struggling hard, like I said. No thanks to that Vulkan support. It achieves a poor average of 26 FPS, and the input lag was just way too bad for Doomy on the R7 450, which requires precise aim and precision. The Xeon in the $100 PC was being pushed to the limit, as shown in the 1% lows. Overall, the $100 and $150 gaming PCs both get over 100 FPS and provide a solid Doom experience, with the $50 PC struggling far behind. Barely. In fact, not even barely. It's not even getting 30 FPS on average. On to the conclusion. In conclusion, how do I think these PCs compare to each other? Well, the $50 PC in every single game falls flat on its face. It does not do well at all, thanks to that pathetic R7 450. I mean, it could handle all the games at like 720p low or medium, not at 720p ultra or high though, which was basically what we ran most of our games at, except for CSGO, which was running at 8x MSAA, so not great at all. But anyways, how did the $100 PC do? Well, the Xeon held back that little RX 480 in basically every single situation. because that Xeon is an older 4-core 8-thread CPU, basically in between a i7 6700 and a 7700, so it didn't really do too great either. But overall, I think all these PCs did really well. Oh, except for one thing. You guys might be wondering, why didn't Benchmark GTA 5 Enhanced? Well, it's because that crappy R7 450 is so old to the point where, well, it's based on such an old architecture to the point where it doesn't even support DirectX 12 fully. It supports only 11_1, which GTA 5 Enhanced needs 11_0. I know there are DLL workarounds, but I'm too lazy and also too stupid to figure out how to get them to work, so yeah, guys. Anyway, see you in the next video, alright? Number 2, subscribe.